who doth mock the meat it feeds on and all that. We journalists were jealous of Julian Assange. And I didn't have a good reason for being jealous of him, so I invented one. And the reason I invented was I didn't like the idea of radical transparency. I thought, this is irresponsible. How can you just dump all these secrets on people? They have to be filtered out by responsible people. And I thought of myself as a free thinker at the time. And I was so brainwashed that I forgot, as a lot of people forget, that secrets do not belong to governments.
That really pissed me off.
Secrets don't
Just
belong
as
to
Stella
governments.
spoke,
Information, all this
it went off,
information belongs
and then
to
when
us.
she finished, it came back on.
Government permission.
Yes! They must serve us!
Now, I'm an American. There's a lot of, I know there's some Americans here. There are obviously a lot of people from the UK here. We have a lot of secrets right now.
Yes.
Why is that? We're building skyscrapers and huge underground complexes because we don't have a place to keep all of it. Why is that? Julian answered that question. I want to quote from an essay he wrote. He wrote, authoritarian regimes give rise to forces which oppose them by pushing against the individual and collective will to freedom, truth, and self-realization. Plans which assist authoritarian rule, once discovered, induce resistance. Hence, these plans are concealed by successful authoritarian powers. Now, translate that in a brief way. The worse the government is, the more secrets there are. And we have a lot of secrets now. Now, Julian Assange, there's a brutal irony about this. He became famous at a time when, particularly America, but a lot of the Western governments were building a vast secret state to deal with what they called the threat of foreign terrorism. They built a complex of secret prisons, programs of extraordinary rendition, terrible things that we learned about in large part because of WikiLeaks. Defense information. What is national defense information? Well, as it happens, when I asked about this, it's basically anything they say it is. So they want to put him in jail for 100 organizations in the world would be appalled at this.
Yes!
They would call this the worst human rights offense of our generation. But because the West is doing this, we get silence from our media. That is inexcusable.
Media must speak up now!
The last thing I'll say is, if you're okay with this happening to Julian Assange, you better be okay with it happening to a whole lot of other people, because that's going to be the reality in about 10 minutes. If they get away with doing this, that's why it's so important to rally now to prevent this from happening.
Yes.
Whether preventing his extradition, preventing his imprisonment in the United States, once they get away with this, the floodgates will be open, and this will become a common occurrence. There will be no more speeches in parks. It'll just be something that happens every day and people won't even notice anymore. If we want to prevent that from happening, we have to act now.
Yes! 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 Now!
So,
Take action
do
now!
not let this happen. Free Julian Assange. Thank you very much.
Now, from the very beginning, there's been the closest possible association between the material that Julian Assange released and the anti-war movement. When I was club on the initial revelations of the Afghan war logs, it was because I was one of the founder members of the Stop the War coalition in this country. It's for that reason that one of the most commonly seen interviews with Julian Assange is the one where he's just stepped off the platform at a Stop the War coalition demonstration in Trafalgar Square. And from that day to this, The anti-war movement in this country has stood solidly with Julian Assange, and for that reason, it's my pleasure to welcome a speaker from the Stop the War Coalition, Shabir Akhtar.
Thank you, and thank you all for being out here today. The imprisonment and the torture of Julian Assange is an absolute crime. His treatment shows us with absolute clarity that we do not live in a democratic society. We do not have a free press. The message from the state is that if you dare expose their crimes, if you dare to oppose their narrative, they will bring down their full weight against you. And how much clearer can it be when the man who exposed this government's butchering of the people of Afghanistan and Iraq is languishing in prison, facing extradition and 175 years in an American cell, while the man who is responsible for the butchering of those people, the mass murderer, war criminal Tony Blair, who not only walks free, but he was rewarded with a knighthood, he continues to expand his empire by advising dictators and murderers on how to carry out their crimes. At the moment, it is no surprise that this government is pushing so hard to extradite Julian Assange, while they are also simultaneously passing laws to restrict our ability to protest, to restrict our ability to strike, to give the police and the state even more powers against us. And at the same time, they are pushing for a mass escalation of a war that threatens to expand and that threatens the lives of millions and millions of more people. So we have an absolute duty, when they try to stop us to protest even more. When they beat the drums of war, to make sure that we mobilize and stop their warmongering. And we know that even in the case of Julian Assange, it is not something that will be decided in a vacuum in the courts. The court of public opinion matters. The pressure that we build on the streets matters. And that's why we need to keep turning out in bigger numbers for Julian Assange. We need to turn out in bigger numbers to oppose the war in Ukraine. And we need to turn out in bigger numbers to stop this authoritarian government from removing our hard-won democratic rights and civil liberties. So I just want to make one plug, which is that on the 8th of July, the Stop the War Coalition has a national day of action against the war in Ukraine, calling for peace. Please, if you're not already a member of Stop the War, join it. Come out on the streets and let's make the case against war. Let's defend Julian Assange. Let's build on his legacy. See you all on the streets. Solidarity.
Thanks very much. And now I want to ask Christian Hartman, the editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks, to come to the platform to explain to us exactly where we are now in this struggle
this around,
and
guys.
what we need to do next.
Like 30 people before the shit bomb went down.
Hi everybody, thanks for being here today. I want to talk a little bit about words and lawyers.
Yes,
English is not my first language, so I'm fascinated about the use of language and words and how it is abused and used in the battle against justice. 13 years ago, when I started working with Julian, preparing the release of the Collateral murder video, I'm sure that all of you have seen, it struck me that they used the word engagement in a certain context. Not for me, engagement was something that had a pleasant connotation. This was the word that used when people got together and decided to tie the knot, as I think you call it, until death do them apart. But in the vocabulary of the American military, engagement, yes, it does have to do with death, but it means fatal killing. That is the engagement that the lawyers in Pentagon came up with when they drew up the rules of engagement. And those were the rules the lawyers drew up and the helicopter pilots were thinking about when they asked for permission to engage, to open fire, to assassinate Natasha Tomal, an innocent civilian who came upon the scene to save the life of an injured man, Said Sma, who worked for Reuters. Permission to engage, they asked. Give us permission to engage. Before they opened fire and sprayed 30mm hollow bullets upon the vehicle where inside were the two children, Said and Sma, who were only saved because their father threw his body over them and shielded them in front of the car. Think about these lawyers who are sitting, drawing up these documents, finding new meanings to these words. Engagement. It's killing. And think about the fact that Julian is being indicted for publishing these rules of engagement. You are not even allowed or supposed to see the rules they play by in their assassination games, in wars. They do not charge him for publishing the collateral of the video for one purpose only, because they do not dare to have that shown in a courtroom at any point. And you know why. This is how they use language. We all know how the lawyers in Pentagon and the Department of Justice drew up manuals on how the military could torture prisoners. But of course they didn't call it torture. What shall we call it so it sounds better? Enhanced interrogation techniques. That's waterboarding 80 times, 90 times. Electrocution, hanging up on the hand until you are disjointed of the arms. Torture, pure. No enhanced interrogation techniques.
Bravo! Thank you!
Now, I want to draw up a little scene that we came to learn about in January this year, when Mike Pompeo, former CIA director, later Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo was director of CIA in 2017, and he was very hopeful that he could become the Republican nominee for election next year. So of course he published a book. It's a memoir, his fond memoir, from the halls of power when he was director of CIA and later Secretary of State. Now think about this. He tells a story that just before Christmas 2017, he sat in a cozy atmosphere with his family. Think about this atmosphere. The wife is preparing the dinner, I guess. Then a decoration, the Christmas tree is up, the gifts on the floor. And he tells that he was sitting, browsing through and reading the manual on extrajudicial killings.
Shame!
That's the Christmas that Pompeo wanted and liked most. And why is this relevant? Yes, because we now know that in the same period, because
Stop
of British
messaging me,
journalists
Lisa.
who did deep investigation, there were plans being drawn up to assassinate Julian Assange, to kidnap him or assassinate him in the Ecuadorian embassy. A real plan that was introduced in the White House. And we furthermore know this because two brave witnesses who are protected have issued statements that they knew about this plan, and poisoning was being discussed. That was what Pompeo was concocting just before Christmas 2017 by head of the CIA.
Criminal! Pompeo! Criminal! Pompeo!
Now,
Pompeo!
we are possibly not going to hear about all this in the court of law, in the extradition hearing, and the High Court. Why? Because on 6th of January, Justice Swift, as his name is Justice Swift, decided after almost 9 months of deliberation to spit out 3.5 pages of his ruling that he saw no reason for Julian Assange to have an appeal in the High Court. no ruling at all. He complained about the mass of paperwork and documents that he was pestered to go through. 200 pages, too long. It's about a man's life. That's a defense document. It should have been less. I see nothing there. The story up and killed Julian Assange. No, it's just a journalistic story. It's based on 30 named and unnamed sources, published in Yahoo News, written by 3 prominent investigative journalists. No, it's just some speculation by a journalist. The protected witnesses who knew that there was a plan to poison Julian Assange, now not worthy of being heard in the High Court in London, said Justice Swift. And on he went, in the 3.5 pages. He didn't go through any detail. He didn't bother. That document, you should read it. It clarifies for us that the entire judicial process in this country is a facade. It's a total facade.
Yes, it is.
It is injustice, persecution, plot in to make it look like it's justice, but it's not. And the more steps we take in the courts here in London, the more obvious it becomes. And Justice Swift, he doesn't even spend much effort in trying to cloak the real fact of the matter that he had already decided to take a politicized opinion before he even got the 200 documents. And I doubt that he read through the entire thing. He was probably reading the memoirs by the great Mike Pompeo at the time.
Change on Jonathan Swift.
My good friend Greg Murray wrote an excellent piece the other day. Please read him and support him. He is very good. And he reminded people how fascism and Nazism crept into the German psyche in the 30s. And there was no shortages of lawyers and scholars, legal scholars, to write up the justification for the wrongdoing. And at the Nuremberg trial, there was no shortage. It has been passed out laws, and these legal scholars, they said I was in the right. And we got orders to do it. It's called the Nuremberg defense. It was dismissed at the Nuremberg trial. When it comes to these heinous acts, you have to be accountable, no matter what the lawyers have drawn up, no matter what the facade is. And that is what we are going to be having in mind. We are going to hold these people account. Every individual that has taken part in this persecution of Julian Assange. Do not forget that. We will get history, if not history, to judge these people, and they will be spat on. The sons and daughters and granddaughters and grandsons, they will be ashamed of the legacy of those individuals in the court, in the entire bloody corrupt system who took part in this persecution. But we are almost running out of time. We need to save a man's life. We need to save journalism. We need to act now, and we cannot stay silent. We need Julian Assange!
Thanks very much. So I'm sure by now you have the message of this rally. We are at 5 minutes to midnight in this case. There is a crucial and possibly final court case on the horizon. When the announcement comes of the date of that case, please be ready. Please be ready to mobilise. And that means don't just watch out for the announcement and start to argue with your friends, your family, your fellow campaigners, fellow trade unionists. When you hear that announcement, start arguing now that you must be there, that you must make that the most effective demonstration that we've had in this case so far, because we're at the most decisive point of this case so far. So that's the message from us to you today. Thank you very much for coming. I'm going to ask now Dave Rowricks, who has sung for Assange for many, many occasions, but has made an especial effort. He was performing at Glastonbury. He's rushed up here to be with us today, so I hope that you'll give him a warm welcome. When Dave finishes, please do feel free to come and take the empty chair, take a selfie, publicise it, say a few words, and get the voice out, not just of us, but of all of you who are here today. But when you get on the chair, please just remember this. One of the most famous, and in my view, one of the best ever political speeches was made by Abraham Lincoln, and it's called the Gettysburg Address. It is 272 words long, and it took him 2 minutes to deliver for you to try and exceed Abraham Lincoln when you get up on the chair. Thank you very much.
Jail! You are criminals! Jail! You are criminals!
Military, say it is. British justice is what the American military say it is.
Emotions.
Why don't you do
Are you Italian?
Well, we'll walk about in a minute because I'm just getting bored standing there.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if
No,
I was
no,
getting
it's
my
fine.
shot, but
That's okay.
there was that lady with
No,
a
it's
tripod
fine.
who was getting stressed about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's
no.
difficult. I mean,
You seemed stressed before you even got here, mate.
the thing is, with these things, you really need to
Yeah,
have
I know.
a
Yeah, you
wider
do.
angle, really.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
difficult, so I
exactly.
need to step back as well. But
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, the lights are fine. It's just not the guitar.
Free Julian now. Who's that woman? You can sing that song.
some people getting really stressed with the video.
So there's the fist fight, yes.
So, if you don't know, guys, this is Edward Snowden. This is Julian Assange. And this strange individual is Chelsea Manning. No, but it was this individual here was
It'll go without
turned
feedback?
into well, he dressed up as a man. From
Please read the book. Trial of Julian by Niels Melcher. Everybody needs to read the whole book. Bravo! Bravo!
Okay, let's see. Yeah, both mics, yeah, ready.
what's this? Assange skateboard skills must be awesome by now. Yeah, he's pretty much Tony Hawk now. Oh wait, look, there's Bongo Nick. Bongo Nick is getting on the chair.
Okay, anyway, yeah. What the strange sounds are. Is that coming out of the speaker?
To be fair, Bongo Nick is a greater man than Assange and Snowden, let's be honest.
As we turned on the guitar.
His bongoing skills alone should give him a Nobel Peace Prize.
Whoa.
I'm bored as fuck, you know what I mean? So I go into my happy place. You alright? Are you there? Thinking of you. Thinking about you. You alright?
Must remember, check your pocket.
Yeah. Alright. You alright? Yeah, I'm alright. I need a...
There's a man for the work that he has done in their terror war behind behind these prison walls is a part of WikiLeaks, an eloquent orator, but you won't hear him speak. Locked away in silence, one who knows too well how those in power act when there's another war to sell.
What's the connection like, guys? Is it bad connection?
Is one who stands accused of exactly what offenses.
You really need to stand down these
the U.S. has refused to say precisely which, or to try to clear the mist.
It's always got a giant of freedom t-shirt. So a better reception where
Hello, hello, can you hear me? Hello guys. Okay, I get songs to sing together. Or songs, yeah. All together, accompany me please. Hold on. Okay. I tell you.
oh my god, Bongo Nick is back in a singer. So you can get on that chair and you can pose with those three.
Julian Assange! Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Okay. Now we sing together. 1, 2, 3. Assange must be free. Assange must be free. Today we are together to raise our voice. He must be free. Assange must be free. Assange must be free. To hug his sons, to hug his sons, together. Assange must be free. Assange must be free. Today we are together to raise our voice. He must be free. He must be free.
Really, Bongo Nick carried that song, let's be honest guys. Bongo Nick carried that song.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We are not alone. We are not
We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We are hand in hand. We are hand in hand. We are hand in hand today. Oh, deep in my heart, I shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in
between 3 and 5, and at Piccadilly, Eros, every Saturday, 4 to 6, we go to the to do its job. Julian is not a British citizen. Julian is not an American citizen. You, the Australian government, should be looking after your citizen. And what's happening now, globally, a British citizen left Serbia, he's a journalist, came back to England to visit his family, and he was taken in by terrorism officers. Think about that, a journalist. Julian predicted all this. They are coming after investigative journalists that expose what is really happening globally in the world. The fight is now. If we don't deal with this, if Julian is taken to America, forget the future of your children, because your children will be next.
Yes.
This is the fight we have to win. America has to let Julian Assange go. We demand that they let him go.
Yes.
We demand it. And we as a small group of people can do a lot. Australian Embassy, every Wednesday between 3 and 5, if you've got a day off work and you've got time, come down with us. We're there. Today, Eros, Piccadilly, between 4 and 6. And we say loud and clear, US, UK.
Hands off Assange!
US, UK.
Hands off Assange!
US, UK.
Hands off Assange!
Free, free, Julian Assange!
Free, free, Julian Assange! Free, free, Julian Assange! Free, free, Julian Assange!
Free, free, Julian Assange!
Free, Assange!
Over to you.
I stand before you as one of the activists in the streets of London. For many years, my expression of my democratic right to be involved in public life in a true democratic way. Because democracy starts in the street. Democracy stands in the squares. Yes. And I stand before you in my capacity as an activist, exercising my democratic right and my democratic duty. These amazing statues started as an idea in the head of Davide Dormino. And in 2014, he came and presented his work at the Logos Symposium in the Barbican here in London. It is a particular pleasure and an honor to see this dream coming reality. And we have it here exhibited in the perfect location, here where the heart of the British democracy is beating.
There is no democracy.
I hear my friend Elsa who says there is no democracy. But I must remind you, it is our duty to ensure and keep democracy alive. These people who stand in depiction, Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, whistleblowers who share their knowledge with us, the public, for free. And in the middle, Julian Assange, the publisher, with this massive megaphone spread information was given to him by whistleblowers all around the world for free. All three have done their duty, have done their democratic duty. All remains is for us to ask, what can we do? Find the thing that we can do and just do it simply in our everyday life. So thank you all for coming today. It's marvelous to be here with people who will share the same ideals and keep the struggle going all the way. We follow Julian Assange's steps. Where he is, we follow. We followed him outside the Ecuadorian embassy for 6.5 years. We follow him every single court hearing in this country. We follow him in Belmarsh, where he is at the moment, for the last 4.5 years. And we follow him here at this amazing statue. So find a thing that you can do and support this cause in the way that you can.
Write to your MPs.
Write to your MPs if you want to. Speak to your neighbors. Donate. The easiest thing to do is put your hand in your pocket, donate to his official campaign, donate to his wife's campaign. Find the thing that you can do. And finally, do so together as one. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming today. Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Thank you.
Hello, it's an honour to be here, and I want to ask, where is the mainstream media? Where are they?
Going to the festival.
They should be here, because if Julian is extradited to 175 years in the United States in a brutal jail, it will affect them all, like it affects us too. Free Julian Assange now! Now! Free Julian Assange now! US, UK, hands off Assange! US, UK, hands off Assange! 2023, time to let him free! 2023, time to let him free! Thank you.
Don't you get up there? You get up there. You been up there yet? I think pretty much anyone could say anything.
No, but why didn't you go?
No, I'm recording it. I won't say anything. But yeah, what's saying? Yeah, I think it's Marcus Campbell, the drummer at the moment. But he jammed, the whole point of it though.
Good afternoon, London. Citizens of the world, people of the internet. I'm known compared with heroes like Assange. I'm just a guy under the sky, like all of us. A byproduct of democracy, a byproduct of freedom of fascism. I came all the way here from Portugal, of all places, to for once bring a message of hope. We're really not good on hope in Portugal, and we did add some bouts with fascism. You might have heard that the Romans invaded the Iberian Peninsula, that we had a little stint of 700 years of Inquisition, burning people alive like in this square. But in my lifetime, I have a friend in common with you guys and everyone that uses the internet. One is Julian, another one is Aaron Swartz, a kid that died out of FBI overdose for being the first one to want to share a library online. This was only 10 years ago. If you ever heard of Reddit, archive.org, if you ever use the internet as we know it exists over people like Aaron Swartz and like Julian Assange. And from a guy that I'm only possible because of people like Nelson Mandela or Captain Salgueiro Maia that saved Portugal from the Salazar dictatorship, or another whistleblower. Wait a minute, Gandhi's a good guy, MI6. Another whistleblower, Major General Smedley Butler, that a century ago, a true hero, the most decorated U.S. Marine was a U.S. whistleblower like Assange, like Manning. I would argue differently from Ed. We have democracy because people will always fight oppression. If I, that I'm no one, just a guy under the sky, got to live through my ancestors' 700 years of Inquisition, Salazar dictatorship, now we, today, on the 24th, that we stand here with Assange, we can be happy. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Julian Assange doesn't have a ray of sunlight for this last 12 years. In my lifetime, I've seen this Parliament Square in the times of Occupy Democracy completely sealed and cordoned, which the students with knowledge were able to breach. And Aaron Swartz and Julian believe that knowledge should be free.
Yes.
Because all our lives, if we are human, it's because knowledge sets us free. Knowledge is power, as Julian Assange and Aaron Swartz would always believe. There's nothing that the fascists of nowadays can do to stop this man's legacy, that now we have an archive.org, thanks to Aaron Swartz, free knowledge for everyone. We have a wikileaks.org that will outlive us all, free knowledge. We have the fascist fear-mongering about AI. Well, AI has one thing. It's open source, like Aaron Swartz and Julian Assange believed. Knowledge sets us free. Julian Assange, the most influential publisher of our time and maybe history, will outlive thousands of years our age. If we will have democracy in the future, if we'll have a future with truth, we owe it to this man. So, from a hopeless guy that didn't believe that I would make it this day, I hope for Julian Assange to be free, to collect his Nobel Prize, because humanity has one of the greatest heroes ever. Free Assange. Knowledge is free. Thank you.
I'll have a little...
Hi, I just want to introduce Joe Laurie from Consortium News. He is a complete hero. He has followed the court cases and he has really managed to report with such accuracy, such dedication. So I'm just going to go get him. He should be here and everybody should be listening to
Oh yeah, Stella, can I get a few words possibly on my live stream? Is that possible? Brief, very brief.
One question.
Well, I was just going to ask for a rundown about what's going on and what's going on with Assange, Judy, your husband, of course.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, I know you've probably been bombarded with many people, but Stella, tell us how is Julian Assange, your husband?
Well, he's been in Belarus prison for over 4 years. He's not convicted of anything, and he's facing extradition for revealing the criminal acts of the country that's trying to extradite him. You know, it's kind of a total breakdown of democracy, of press freedom, and it's all bearing down on him.
Yeah. And have you been in communication with him recently? Is he?
Yes, I saw him this week, and he's appealing his extradition, the extradition order, but obviously this is a political case, and the outcome will depend on the public's awareness of what's happening.
It never seems like it's ending. Do you think he's being used as like a example to other journalists to keep to stay in line, just hold the line?
He's being used as an example to everyone else, journalists and everyone else, to show them that if you reveal powerful countries or powerful forces committing crimes, they will imprison you, and this is a total attack on all our liberties, and it's against the law. What they're doing to him is against the law. They're the criminals, but they're in charge. So But look, I think the public is well aware of this injustice, and people need to rally for Julian
There's a great lack of journalists here today, aren't there? Or at least the mainstream ones, anyway.
It's not journalists who will free Julian. It's popular sentiment. So I think,
I do agree.
I'm happy with the turnout.
That's good. Well, thank you very much, Stella. Cheers. Thank you. I thought I'd get that, guys, as annoyingly, when Stella gave her speech, my phone shut down, and then when it started operating again, she just finished the speech. Ain't that crazy? What crazy timing was that? God, the sun's coming out. I got no sunblock on, which is, to be honest with you, I'm a bit sus on sunblock nowadays. After looking into a few things, but I could be wrong. Who is this? Jags, I can't answer, mate. I'm doing a live stream. You're gonna have to message me. There's another protest going on here. I'm not too sure. I think it's some sort of, it's not Palestine, Saudi Arabia. It looks like. I want to say the flag. I'm bad with my flag geography. I need that comedian that can identify flags.
And make sure that our voice is extremely loud, so that our politicians who've been captured by big business realize that they are tiny in number compared to us. So let's really wake up our presence to make sure that these politicians
I'm trying to help the editor of the Light to get onto international. At the moment, obviously the BBC are going after him, aren't they? Are you okay? So I'm just live at the moment, just pointing downwards. Are you okay being on camera? Yeah, you're okay. So it's great that you brought this newest edition, guys. Go here. So the BBC are bringing Darren Nesbitt, dragging him through the rates to make him seem like an ex-Hitler or something. So the Light's responded, what's the best way to get the BBC further? Headlines, no climate crisis. Hey, it's brilliant. I love that. I love that you're doing that. Thanks for doing that, man. Yeah. And it's amazing. The BBC are trying to destroy it, aren't they? Because they can't control the spread of the Light newspaper, because it's just done voluntarily, and they can't control that. That's why they're have you seen it with the Mariana Spring hit job? Yeah. Well, I'm great. Thank you for bringing that. That's actually, I've seen someone with a Jam for Freedom t-shirt as well, and that's the second thing I've gone, thank God, there's other people like me here. Do you know what I mean?
I've been reading newspaper for a long time.
Great.
Usually I get a bunch and I spend with my friends.
Brilliant. Excellent that you're doing that. Thank you very much for doing that. Thank you. Thank you.
Because when he got something to say, sir, he's going to say now.
So that brought me in a bit of a ray of hope there, guys.
I wish that you'd decide that he should live as freely as those that live outside. Because he also is entitled to the rights to be
and people want to know about that.
Because when he got something to say, sir, he's going to say it now. I think they might be different if I
That's the link to the Light, guys.
But I've got a friend
Help. Let's get Darren Nesbitt. Let's get him on all these shows in America, etc.
The largest row. So if we got something to say, sir, we're going to say it now. I bet of other countries where the people take a stand. All around the world, we fight for this man. Now we are all together, and we will make a vow that when we got something to say, sir, we're going to say it now. Thank you.
Well, I've been going around the country. same old shit. But in a good way. Good shit, not bad shit. Good shit. Going around. What are you doing after? What's going on after?
I don't know, some people are going to Piccadilly Circus between
Saturday thing, yeah.
I've got to get Alan.
And then we're going to have to wrap up. But before we do, I'd like to give a huge round of applause for the guys who sat there with us and made those possible things in Harvey Square for Danny McKenzie and his team.
Good afternoon, everyone. Where else would I be except here, in this square, standing beside the statues of these three brave men who have defended our rights. If we aren't here, if I'm not
God, my
here,
phone is roasting again. It
then
might shut down.
my rights, which are being attacked, when will I be defended? I won't be. I'm not going to say, as many people up till now anyway have been saying, I'm so glad you're doing that amongst friends. No, we all must be here. We all must continue. The time is now. Julian Assange will die, and we will die. Our democracy will die if we don't act, and act together. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm really, really happy to see all of you here. That's why I feel one with you here, because we are brave and we are speaking out. Free Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange. Now.
Free all of us. Free Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange.
Right, lovely.
Yeah,
okay,
right?
You good?
Hello, or as I normally say, g'day.
Right.
My name's Kamal. I'm from Australia, and I have met people in the last couple of weeks who did not even know that Julian Assange was an Australian citizen, and so I'm here as an Australian citizen to say shame on the Australian government, shame on you, Anthony Albanese, for your failures to speak up publicly for our citizen, the citizen of Australia, Julian Assange, who is probably the best known Australian, but most people don't know he's Australian. And how is that? It's because Australian governments, one after another, including our current government, have failed to stand up for the rights of Julian Assange, have failed to stand up to the United States or Britain and say, we will not tolerate having our citizen subjected to the laws of the United States outside of the United States. There should be no such thing as extraterritoriality. There is no such thing as extraterritoriality, and yet the United States government wants to apply its laws to a citizen of another country who was never even in the United States when the things that he's accused of doing took place. So if we care that the United States does not have jurisdiction in Australia, in the United Kingdom, anywhere in the world, but can just stick to its own borders, thank you very much. We need to be standing and defending Julian Assange and standing against the extradition of Julian Assange to be tried for crimes that are only crimes in the US, if they are even crimes, which of course we know are not. So I'm here to ask, just because, I mean, it's a bit, whatever it is, but I'm going to say, Anthony Albanese, where the bloody hell are you? And to demand that the Australian government take action, that the United States government cease its efforts to extradite Julian Assange, that Julian Assange be freed now, because it is far too long that this shameful experience has been played out across the world, that those telling the truth are being persecuted, while those who committed the war crimes are being let off. And I'll just say, we need WikiLeaks, we need more journalism, because they are trying to foist more and more wars on us. They're trying to foist war against China on us when China is not the one with military bases all around the world.
Yep, that's true.
And we need to have the truth, and we can't have the truth, we can't fight the wars if we don't have the truth. And that's why once more I want to say, free Julian Assange now.
We need more grown-ups.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming, and see you outside the court in huge numbers, please. Take care.
When? When's the court day? Could have told us that, couldn't he?
Well, he said they wouldn't know.
Ah, right. So he's just saying generically. Oh, right.
Julian Assange, now!
I want a photo of me up on a chair.
Julian Assange, now! Bring it through, now! Free Julian Assange! 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 US, UK, hands off Assange! US, UK, hands off Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free him now! Free him now! Why are you up there?
Yeah. So, you know what? I think that's actually good timing because my phone's pretty much about to die, even though I've got my power saved, even though I've got my power bank in.
Free Julian Assange! Free the truth! There is no freedom of the press!
Guys, I think I'm going to have to go because even with my power bank in,
there is no freedom of
and my phone's roasting hot. So, yeah, guys. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you, Cyprian, for the donation for the phone, and Lisa Sargent, and anyone else who did contribute. Thank you. I'm gonna have to because I'm basically fighting the sun essentially with the draining of this. Maybe I'll try.
Another one, yeah. There you are.
If I can you get one of me?
Yeah. I just press.
No, you just hold it. It's already recording,
okay.
and I'll just screenshot it later.
All right.
If I can, if I possibly can. But hopefully my phone won't die before that. If you hold that, it's fine. But that's the battery for it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. If I can get everyone scrambling. Scrambling.
I know, but quick enough.
Let me see my. Oh my God, 1%. 1%. I don't think I'm going to do it, guys. 1%. Thank you.
Okay. Get up there quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, if I go around the country, go to what I think are interesting things, guys. If you want to support me, please do. Or you want to buy me, whatever. You might give me a beer for the win, but also subscribe to UNN as well, and this channel, and all of the Delivering Liberty links, everything like that. Please do, guys. Yeah. So, guys, thank you. So I feel like I'm battling the sun here with this battery. David might be live in Glastonbury. Oh, not Glastonbury. Sorry, Edinburgh at the moment. So I don't know. So let me see. Yeah, I do, guys. I've literally got a battery pack. Look, full battery pack. It's just not. It's not pumping through. The phone is too hot. Charge stop. Why is the charge stopped? Yeah, the charging is stopped because it's too hot. Your phone's temperature is too high. Charging when the temperature returns to normal. So yeah, it's gonna fuck up basically. So it's great. I got a phone that overheats really swiftly. Wow, fantastic. That's what I got at the moment. Yeah, not Glastonbury, Edinburgh. I mean, I might be going Glastonbury somewhat soon for something that I can't remember at this specific point in time. So I don't know. Taylor Swift, like, no, not the festival. God, no. I never even went to the festival when it was good. So I might have to. Yeah. Well, I got a feeling it's going to end. I'm really bad with timing today. I don't know. I got 1%. I got 1% of my battery. Even with. Fuck Taylor Swift. Did you get down there? Yep. Alright, cool. Has it done it? Yeah, it's done.